Hi, Kalpun Piso here. Why we, as educated adults, believe in irrational, retarded things as if they were reality.
They say it does not say you won't get bit. So the important thing is that when you die,
there are as many gods as the brain can create. The snakes are gods, rocks are gods, all over millennia. There's only one. Otherwise, God really truly existed. But no, the brain creates so many, as these snake handlers that believe the snake is a god. The Christians have a snake on the cross. Represents health, which is equivalent to the penis.
Jandar Singh will have the honor of being reincarnated as a rodent, fulfilling his sin.
Happens in the brain. It's going to be reincarnated.
It means I'll stay within this temple, to be reborn,
A pluribus unum, out of many, one. Over 6 million years ago, our brain started developing, the hominid, for survival. There were many factors that made the primate brain began to evolve as a defense, a survival mechanism, and it's all in the limbic system. We can see that today. And it began to create God. Many factors developed the brain. One of the main factors, I believe, was the ingestion of entheogens, psychotropic substances. And the brain constantly began evolving, and we created God with our brains. As you can see, even a rock would be considered a God. Things that we didn't want to consider a God.
They say God is the answer.
This is what we create thoughts with, and chemicals are affected by this. Prayers don't work. Chemicals do. Try them. Here are different medicines that this Christ-psychotic, ignorant people can actually take. They have a mild form of schizophrenia that I call Christ-psychosis. Well, is it all in here? In our brains. And we very much look like this. We're a more improved version of this. All this created with the brain. We're crazy apes. Sorry, Christians. That's a fact.
are more popular than Christianity and Islam. And for its followers, voodoo is more than just a religion.
In the same way you speak of a Buddhist society or a Judeo-Christian society, you can speak of a voodoo society, and within that world one finds completeness. But you can speak of as a cultural thing as much as it is a religion.
Exactly. Yes, we rebuke you, Satan. You release all the demons. Go, 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 go. Go. Give money to these retards over there. As evolved mutated primates, we began to gather knowledge, collective knowledge, through millennia. But there was always the God delusion, the psychosis of God interfering with our with acquisition of knowledge. So anytime we didn't understand something, there was God, there was the supernatural. We created the supernatural, a psychosis that interfere with everything. It's still with us today. That's just every culture in this planet, every culture has a God. When the brain rejects these irrational beliefs that keep invading our brains, the belief of God and nonsense, and we study science, we keep our feet on the ground of reality, then we have, like this scientist, this researcher,
like this scientist, this researcher. That there aren't that many of them. And in fact, in a devastating disease like muscular dystrophy, where the muscle is weakened by a genetic lesion, robbing it of an essential protein and causing it to be fragile, every time it's used, it actually breaks and has to be replaced. The stem cells can keep up with this for a while, but eventually... Then
when the brain, despite the education received, succumbs to religious psychosis and believing God and all this nonsense, these are the results. Look at that! They go back to the infancy, when they were little babies, totally religious.
Speaking in the tongues of angels.
The person is deluded, infected with a religious psychosis. They walk on their knees, and despite the education, because of the imaginary friend in the sky, they speak in tongues, like the clip I just showed, and all the rest of psychosis. And it is a disastrous, intellectually stagnating disorder. The disorder of belief. That is Catholics walking on their knees. That's a schizotypal disorder. Sorry, people. That's insanity, right? That's insanity, right? Yes, there's prosperity. People start giving you money on the retail. People start giving you money on the retail.
Something out in the world or inside the brain. Here at Laurentian University in Sudbury, Canada, people are having these strange experiences every day. Scientists are triggering them with, of all things, magnets.
Our brains are not affected only by chemicals, but also by electromagnetism. Magnetism in the brain affected the temporal lobes, and as Michael Shermer, this brilliant man, is indicating, put magnets in the brain, and they create these sensations, this belief in God, just like drugs do. This happened in ancient times. There's the reason people start, the Christ-psychotics start experiencing all these visions and things. Electromagnetism is in the atmosphere. We create God with our brains, sorry. Belong in mental institutions.
The problem is that people with particular religious viewpoints...
No, the problem is that religious beliefs are not defined for a psychosis. It is.
To inject religion into the science class.
That's right, no.
Evolution is widely accepted by the scientific community
Disorder.
as the basis for teaching biology to children.
Places idiots in
question
insane
aspects
asylums.
of the theory, like gaps and...
The big problem is the elephant in the room. Nobody sees religious beliefs for the psychosis it is. It's a mental illness. It's a form of schizotypal disorder. And not until scientists and neurologists mention this and define it for religion for what it is, we'll still have the problem. Saying, oh, religious beliefs. No, it is a psychosis. We should put these people in mental institutions to actually help them define it and do some corrections there and some cure for these people that are actually retarded and infected the whole world. The insanity nobody sees.
And science does not operate on faith. Faith is taught in churches. If you can't prove it in the scientific world, you've got no game. These Christian fundamentalist psychotics are so power mad, willful ignorance, intimidation, and suppression of information are their tools. Intelligent design, abstinence-only sex ed. The new dark ages are upon us.
Exactly. But Henry Rollins, brilliant man, doesn't see it either. Religious, which is created in the brain, is the acceptance of imaginary friends or deluded concepts as if they were reality. In other words, a religious person have a problem with the brain, suffer from a psychosis. And religious beliefs are a psychosis. To a religious person, 2 + 2 is equal to anything but 4. That's what nobody seems to see. And guess what? These beliefs happen exactly under a schizotypal or schizophrenia-infected brain. Sorry, it's a fact. It's no different between a religious belief and religious beliefs all over the place associated with this illness. Neurologists don't want to tell you about that because it's a hot subject. What's a cognitive impairment? Exactly the same thing happens to a religious brain, religious infected brain. The inability to differentiate between reality and fantasy, especially in educated people. If you're educated and you're a scientist like Francis Collins, the head of the Genome Project, for instance, a Christ-psychotic, you should be able to tell between a fantasy, a religious idiocy, and a tangible reality. Religious people are unable to do that. We're evolved mutated primates that have that psychosis of God belief dormant in our brains. And defective brains is actually surfaced much later, despite the education. So when you believe in God, you have a problem. You are accepting 2 + 2 equals anything but 4. And this must be addressed by neurologists. Believing God is a form of psychosis, a neurological disorder, mental illness. In pace de oro. Let's help cure it and address it and awareness of it.